Hello everybody, I'm Starraptor. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for Star Wars Battlefront II, Inferno Squad. This is written by Christy Golden, who also wrote Star Wars Dark Disciple, an excellent book. Make sure you check that one out. But before I get started with this review, I want to say thank you to the people over at Penguin Random House for sending me this advanced review copy. It was much appreciated. So Inferno Squad is the prequel to the upcoming video game Battlefront II coming out this fall. So this follows the formation and the very first mission of Inferno Squad. So after the destruction of the first Death Star, the Empire sent reeling. So what they do is they create this Black Ops unit to infiltrate the Partitions, which were originally created by Saul Guerrero, who is no longer with us at this point in the timeline. So Inferno Squad has to become the enemy. They have to infiltrate the ranks and destroy the Partisans from the inside out. So going over the things I like most about this novel. First off, I can't talk about this novel without talking about the main character, Iden Versio, who's also going to be the main character of Battlefront II. So she is this young commanding leader in the Empire. She commands Inferno Squad, and her family, her father in particular, is also part of the Imperial military. He is the admiral in the ISB, and he treats his daughter like dirt. So she has to basically pick herself up from the bootstraps. Throughout her entire life, she had no affection shown to her by her father. And the thing is about the Empires, they all look kind of down on her because they say she got her rank because her father gave it to her. But she has been doing this all herself, her own motivations, so she's fighting an uphill battle. And it shows about how her leadership qualities really help give her team success. So I really enjoyed the squad dynamics in Inferno Squad. It's broken down by 4 members. First off, we have Gideon, who has been a longtime friend of Iden Versio. He's very loyal to the Empire. He has seen a lot. Then we also have Del, who is the oldest member of Inferno Squad. He has been through the ranks of the Empire more than anybody else. He started off as a stormtrooper, then went to a shore trooper, then became an engineer. He is the sort of tech guy, and he's got a lot of humor. Then we finally have Sen, who is the rookie of the group, and she is somebody that was coming out of naval intelligence, so she has a lot of slicing skills and stuff of that nature. And this makes the Inferno Squad a squad that gets together, and right from the beginning they have this kind of rapport, this really family vibe that really makes you emotionally attached to each one of these members. So something that sets us apart from the rest of the Star Wars canon right now is how it feels like its own kind of story. We have the very much of a spy story here that we haven't got from anything else in Star Wars. Again, these members of Inferno Squad have to infiltrate into the enemy. They have to eat with the enemy, they have to sleep with the enemy, and they just can't get known. So they have to even do some really questionable things, and in doing so, it becomes super dark. And that leads me to the next point here. Is wow, this might be the darkest Star Wars story I've ever read. There's so much murder. There are so many questionable things that deal with the decisions that these characters are making. There's a lot about bombing and innocent lives being taken. So it is very, very dark. So be prepared for that. And I really enjoyed how much you actually show a little bit of compassion for the Empire, because again, Christy Golden does a great job in creating the Partisans, which really are the reciprocal of the Empire. The Empire is going to be, brutal, so they're going to be brutal against them, and the Rebel Alliance looks at the Partisans as another entity. They aren't really the same because they're too extreme for the Rebel Alliance, as we know in Rogue One. So very much the same kind of tactics, and it just takes it to the next level, and that makes the Empire almost look like the good guys in this one, which is completely insane to think about. Something I also enjoy about this is how much it connects into Star Wars as a canonical story. Of course, we have the events of A New Hope in here, but we also have a lot of mentions of Rogue One. We have a lot of stuff coming from Rebel Rising, that young adult novel that came out earlier this year. And, even a character from the Clone Wars comes in here, so it's really cool. And I like how it all fits together. Like, for instance, if you read Catalyst Rogue One, then you read Rebel Rising, then you read the novelization of Rogue One, and then you read this story, it's going to create this kind of seamless story that kind of progresses through each novel with its own themes. So definitely want to do that if you pick this one up. And finally, Christy Golden does it again, just like she does in Dark Disciple. By the end of this book, you are going to feel emotionally drained. She does such a great job with creating these characters, creating the relationships, that by the end of the story, my heart was broken. As much as I enjoyed this novel, there were a couple things that I have to talk about that I didn't like so much. So first off, the lack of action. I thought we were going to get a lot more action in this novel. considering after watching the trailers for Battlefront 2, it looks like the Inferno Squad is on the front line of things. They're there in close combat, and we don't get a lot of that in this novel, so that makes me think like, okay, why are these guys praised upon when they go into the Battle of Endor, for instance? So I would have liked to see especially more TIE combat, because we know that Iden and Gideon are very good pilots. We've barely seen any of that action in this one, so something like that to break up the monotony, because that's my next point, is there are parts where it does get pretty slow. The pacing, especially in the middle, was kind of dragging on a little bit. And finally, my last point was there are certain scenes that seem they are omitted from this novel where they are only summarized in a short paragraph rather than expanded. I would have liked to see there was a particular scene in the beginning of the novel which really gives a great character journey for somebody, and they just summarize it in a paragraph, so that was a little bit disappointing for me. So with that being said, I'm going to give Star Wars Battlefront II Inferno Squad a score of an 8.5 out of 10. If you can't wait to play Star Wars Battlefront II, you're going to want to pick this one up, because you're going to learn so much more about the characters of Inferno Squad going into the game. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of references spread throughout the game of the events in this novel. Similar how Catalyst affected Rogue One, it gave an enhanced experience. I think this is going to do the same thing. I wouldn't call this story essential if you're going to go into playing the game, but definitely something worth the read. Even if you aren't going to play Battlefront 2, I think this is a great spy novel for Star Wars. Like I said, we haven't really had anything that goes into this kind of level of detail with, integrating with the enemy. So that is going to do it for my review of Star Wars Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad. Are you thinking about picking this one up? Will you read it before you play the game? Let's talk about it in that comment section below. Also, if you haven't already checked out the channel, please consider doing so. I have tons of other Star Wars content on here, including the games, the novels, the TV series, and the comics. I also have tons of content, including movies, TV, and video games, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that future content. I'm Star Raptor, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you always. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Star Raptor head so you subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content, speaking of which you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.